All right, and we are live. Hi everyone, welcome to this session about resource engagements. Now, PMs and RMs can be friends. When we saw this feature at last year MVP Summit, we were very excited. There were a lot of questions and discussions. I think personally, I also wrote a blog post saying this probably is one of the missing features for Microsoft Project and Project Server for a long time. So I'm very excited for this session. Some of you might have already seen an intro to this presentation at Microsoft Ignite, but I'm pretty sure a good refresher course will help everybody. For somebody who has not seen this, you should really pay attention. So I have here Julie Kohler from Microsoft here, from the Microsoft project team. She's a program manager with them. And she's actually a senior program manager. I should be careful with my titles.
Oh, that's okay.
She's heading the development of this entire feature set. Very excited to have her here. And with that, take it away, Julie.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Julie Kohler, and as he mentioned, I'm from Microsoft, and I've been working on resource management for quite some time now. And I have the basic introduction slide, thanks to our sponsors. And let's just begin with a basic definition. So what is a resource engagement? A resource engagement is an agreement or contract between a project manager and a resource manager for an amount of work and a time period that they can use the people on their projects. So basically, it's a very simple contract that allows you to define who you need for your project and when that's going to be acceptable based on the availability of that resource. So let me go to the next slide. Why did we build this? Well, we heard a lot of feedback from customers that this relationship between resource managers and PMs was very strained, and it was difficult because what we were hearing was a project manager would have kind of a favorite resource that they would request or they would start assigning work to. And a lot of other project managers had that same favorite resource. And so they would start assigning things to that person as well. And that resource would end up overbooked. And even though there wasn't an agreement, both parties thought that it was okay because they wanted that resource on their project. And so what we need is we need some sort of formal process that these two people can work with, where they have a formal contract to decide when those resources will work on certain projects. So it's time-based, basically. By adding this new feature, we hope that PMs and RMs can agree upon when resources will work on specific projects, and they'll have a location where they can go and view those requests and make changes and make sure that they're on the same page. So what can a PM do with the new feature? So the PM is going to be managing engagements from Project Pro. And one thing to call out is that engagements do not impact the project schedule. PMs will get a warning icon if they try to schedule an assignment for a resource outside of a valid engagement, but you can do it. Will see that warning indicator, so we're letting you know that you're making a violation there. PMs can request generic resources or named resources, depending on permissions. So if you know that you need an accountant or a developer, you can just request that generic person, or you can request someone specific and see if that person is available. PMs can customize the proposed engagement time phase contour. So if you know that you need someone for the first half of November, but not the second half, and you need them again in December, you can do that. You can make specific requests and you can adjust the time phase contour. All engagements for a project make up what we're calling the resource plan for that project. So PMs will be able to edit this new resource plan in Project Pro. PMs and RMs can collaborate by adding comments to an engagement as well. So there's room for comments, and the PM can add a comment about maybe why they're requesting somebody, or if it's for a generic, you can say, I need a generic that has experience with this, and then that way the RM can take a look at that, and then they can figure out who would be a good match. So the comments enable them to have that back and forth conversation. And what can an RM do? So the RM will manage engagements from Project Online. RMs can review requests for a set of resources across multiple projects. So you'll go to Resource Center, you'll select the resources that you're managing or that you want to see requests for, and you can look at those, and it'll be across multiple projects. Also, multiple RMs can review and edit those requests for the same project at the same time. There's no checkout mechanism, so multiple people can be doing this at the same time. RMs can create engagements without receiving a request from a PM first. So if an RM remembers some work that needed to be covered, or they know of something that needs to be done and the PM forgot it, the RM can create that engagement and it'll be automatically accepted because it is the RM creating that request. RMs can also make edits to the committed time phase contour of a request before approving it. So say you asked for somebody for the first half of November and then the first half of December. Well, if this isn't going to work for the specific resource, maybe the RM can edit that and say you can have them for the first week of November and maybe the first 3 weeks of December, something along those lines where they can edit those time phase contours. An RM can approve, edit, or decline a request. So those are the 3 options. And then the last point is not all resources will require engagements. That's actually going to be defined by the RMs or the PMO. And I will show you that setting a little bit later. So what do you need in order to get the full feature set? You're going to need Project Pro 2016 or Project Click to Run, plus Project Online or Project Server 2016 to get this full feature set. What about my old resource plans? So when you activate the feature, we will take your old published resource plans and convert them into engagements. There's a great FAQ article that's been published, and I urge you to take a look before you start to activate the feature. But the one thing I do want to call out here is that we've gotten a lot of feedback around this specifically, the migration of the old plans. And the number one thing that we've encountered is there were customers that had old resource plans that didn't have any time phase data. So basically they had resources and they had no information on the right-hand side with time phase information. And so when those resource plans were being migrated, there was nothing for us to migrate over because there was no time phase data. We have to have dates in order to actually create the engagement. So they need to make sure that the old resource plans have some sort of dates in there, or else it won't get migrated because there is no concept of an engagement for a resource without some sort of date. So that was the number one thing we've heard. The other thing is a lot of people forgot to publish the updated resource plans or maybe publish them at all. And so those ones don't get converted as well. So those are the top 2 concerns we've been hearing from customers early on. And so we tried to add that information to the FAQ article, but that might be something that you encounter or hear. And let me go to the demo now. Okay, logged in. All right, so for this demo, the first thing I actually want to show you is that setting that I mentioned earlier, which is that not all resources will require engagements. And I've added this column to the view just to sort of see which resources require engagements so far. So you can see that Ali does not require engagements. So I'm going to show you where that setting is when you edit the resource. Okay, if I scroll down, there's a checkbox here that says resource requires approval for all project assignments. Checking this box means that Ali will require engagements in order for somebody to assign work to her. So that's when we do the check, that's when we show the indicator. And if this is not checked, we don't do that check. So I'm going to click Save. And you'll see that now Ali does require engagements. So let's switch hats and let's go over to Jean, who is a project manager who is starting a new project. This project he's working on is called the 520 Bridge Project, and it's a construction project. So far, he's created some tasks, some basic tasks, but does not have resources assigned to this project yet. So that's going to be the next thing that he does. And I'm going to show that. Let's add some resources. And he's going to add the people that he thinks will be working on this project. So let's do a generic accountant because we know we need somebody. We need a construction crew member. And we think we'd like Ali, and we think we'd like Iris. So let's add these people to the project. To a cusp feature yet, he might just try to start assigning work to people. So let's see what happens if I assign Ali, since we know that she requires engagements. Okay, I pick Ali. Oh, I see an indicator. The indicator tells me that an assignment for this task needs an engagement or is in conflict with an existing one. So let's right-click for options and see what we can do. I'm going to fix an engagement inspector. And it tells me that some of the assignments for this task are not fully covered by the engagements. So let's view the information. And I see that it's this particular one for this resource. So my possible actions here, or I could assign the task to a different resource if there's somebody that maybe does not require engagements or somebody that already had one. But in this case, I'm actually going to create and save a new engagement for this assignment. So for Allie, I know that I would like her to work on this project for all of November, so I'm going to create one that covers all of November. So let's say basic construction work, just so that the RM knows what this is for. I'm going to pick November, and I'm going to do the whole month of November. And I'll add a comment. Allie would be great for this project. Okay. And now this has been updated. And now I see that there's a draft engagement that will cover this assignment, but I have to actually submit it for the RM to take a look and approve it. So I'm going to click submit. Okay, so now it's been proposed and you saw the color has changed. And I'm going to close this out and I'm going to show you the resource plan view where you can create more resource requests. So Jean has figured this out now. So I'm in the resource plan view and I want to look at options for engagements. And I see the one that I've already created for Allie and it's got my comment there. But I know that I'm going to need an accountant, a construction crew member, and Iris. So I'm going to start creating engagements for these people. The accountant, I need this person 50% for the month of November and December. So I'm going to say basic financial work starting in November all the way through December. And I only need this person for 50%. Okay, I'm going to leave the comment blank for this one. Then for the construction crew member, I need somebody full-time for both months. So I'm going to say road work for all of November and all of December. And I'll keep this 100%. And lastly, I need to request Iris, and I think that I need her for the whole project as well. Let's do November through December. Let's say this is electrical work. All right, that just gives a little bit more information to the RM. All right, so now I see that I've got this one that's been proposed, and I've got 3 that are in the draft state. What I need to do now is submit these so that the RM can actually take a look and decide if they're going to approve it or edit or potentially reject. So I'm going to submit all of the engagements. And now you see they're all in the proposed state. And now I'm going to switch hats again, and I'm going to be Sarah, who is the resource manager that works with Jean. And so here I've pre-selected all of the resources that Sarah manages. So she looks at generic accountant requests. She manages Allie, Byron, Christopher, Cody, generic construction, Iris, and Kat. So let's take a look at the requests for these people. Okay, I see these new requests that were made for the 520 bridge project. And I see that there are 4 proposed requests. What I want to do now is I want to take a look at some information to see when these people are actually available. So I'm going to open another tab here. This is how I like to do this. Open another tab. For these same resources, I want to look at the capacity planning information. So I'm going to open the capacity planning page here. And now I like to look at this heat map for capacity engagements and see who's already been requested and who's available. So let's see who we need to look at first. Okay, so I see this generic construction crew member request, and I see that they need somebody from November through December. Let's take a look at who might be available. So I know that Christopher is a construction crew member, and he can do this type of work, and it looks like he is free. There are no current requests for him and nothing there. So I'm going to come back here, and I can either edit this in the dialog or I could edit it in line, which I'll show you a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to edit in this dialog. Okay, and I'm going to swap this generic construction crew member out for Christopher. Okay, everything looks good. Click OK. And now I need to actually accept this since I'm okay with this one and I've made my changes, so I'm going to accept. And now is the time I can add a comment if I'd like, and I'll say, Christopher was free and a good fit. Okay, so now we see that's been committed. Let's take a look at the other requests. So now I also have a request for a generic accountant, and I see that it's 50% for November and December. So let's see who's free for that. Well, I know that Cody is also a accountant, and it looks like he's half-time on a different project, but that means he has 50% of his time free. So I'm going to go ahead, come back here, and I'm going to give Cody for this one. And this one I'm going to do in line. So I'm going to say Cody. And again, I need to accept it now. So I'll click accept. Don't need to leave a comment this time. Okay, so now that one's been committed as well. And the other two I see are for Allie and for Iris. And it looks like they need Allie for November and Iris for 2 months. I'm gonna look here, and it looks like Allie is already fully booked. She's got 40 hours for all of this time, so that is not gonna work. So let's take a look at who we could use instead of Allie for electrical work. It looks like Kat is free starting at the beginning of November, so I'm going to assign Kat for that one. And I'm just gonna take a look at Iris while I'm here, and it looks like Iris is free for that time as well. So it looks like that one I'm going to accept. So let's first swap out Allie for Kat. Okay, and then for Iris, that one looks good, so I'm just going to accept. So I've got 2 of them selected right now, and I'm gonna click accept. If I add a comment, it will apply to both of these, but that's okay because I'm group editing right now. So I'm gonna say, these 2 look good. And now those comments will be applied to these 2 engagements. So I've committed everything looks good, and I've done what I needed to do as Sarah. So now some time has passed. Let's go back to Gene doing his planning on his project. And he needs to see what happened with those engagements and what Sarah gave him and maybe what she didn't. And so all he needs to do is refresh. And he sees some updates. So he sees that these are the 4 that have been committed. He might notice that now he has Kat instead of Allie. Allie's here with no engagements. And the 2 generics, accountant and construction crew member, no longer have a engagement, but that's because there's engagements for these following people. You'll also see that we added some resources to this project because they had these engagements. And so you can, if you were not currently in this view, you could view the engagements here, which would take you to this view. Let's go back to where the tasks were. And we see that there's still a problem with this one because it's assigned to Allie and we don't have an engagement for Allie for here. So let's change this to Kat, which is who was swapped out for Allie. And you'll see that it went away. No more indicator because there is an engagement for Kat and it covers this assignment. So everything is looking good from Gene the PM's perspective as well. Okay, let me go back. That's it for the demo. Okay, so I've added a bunch of helpful links here, and the number one article that I think will be helpful to people is the FAQ article. It really talks about doing the migration and what to expect. We also suggest that people use a test tenant before actually activating this on their full production tenants. So you'll see a lot of good advice there. Then there's some information about activating the feature, and it'll show you what that looks like. There's a yellow bar, you'll click on that, where to go and actually activate the feature. Then we have a bunch of documentation. We've got a nice overview. We talk about how to request a resources time and all the various stages and things that you can go through. And there was also a blog post that was done about this, and that was done by Howard. So now I'm going to turn it over to questions.
All right, I'm back.
Okay.
I was on mute. Okay, so let me see. Okay, Eric was asking what would be a reason to use 2 different settings in one resource pool, where some people need engagements and some people don't require engagements.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't everybody require engagements?
We were really leaving it up to the organization if they wanted to require them or not. It could be potentially that you don't require them for the people in the accounting department, but maybe you need it for all of the construction crew, something along those lines. You could bulk edit and require it for all of your resources. So if your organization is comfortable doing that, that's an option too. You can make it the same for everybody, but if there was an organization that wanted to kind of require them for some resources and not others, we wanted to leave it flexible.
Okay. I know there has been some questions in the past about this, about being able to report on the resource engagement data,
Mhm.
especially in Project Online. So, is there an OData feed available for public right now?
There is, yes, there is a node data feed, and there are 3 nodes that you can look at. I can share that later, that information about what those nodes are called, but it is there.
Okay. So far, those are only a couple of questions. Are we towards the end of your presentation, or did we have more material to cover?
Yeah, this is actually it. I've done the demo, and I have no more slides, so.
Okay, that's good. Shorter presentations. So maybe I can ask my personal question. This whole thing discussion that's going on between about so now resource plans are being replaced by resource engagements, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
How does that play into portfolio analysis?
So it is still going to be used by portfolio analysis, but they'll be using the engagements instead of the previous resource plans. So we did make it so that portfolio analysis will take a look at that. There's an option in there where you can click and say if you want to include proposed bookings or proposed engagements. So we've added that as well because we used to look at proposed bookings with resource plans, but that setting is now there for engagements.
Okay, very good, very good. And the feature set has been rolled out to all Project Online tenants, right?
I think we're at 75% now, so we're almost all the way there.
Okay, and Project Server 2016 has this inbuilt.
It will, yes.
Okay, so at least the preview I think has.
Yeah,
I've
the
seen.
preview has it.
Okay. So Byron is asking, are there going to be a provision for change requests in the future? I'm not sure what the. So let me ask him. Uh,
Okay.
could you clarify? So is if so because this is a new feature. Okay, maybe this is a more of an overarching question. So with Project Online, Microsoft has taken the route of okay, we'll roll out a feature, see how it does, and you have all kinds of monitoring systems in the back end to see if people are using it or not.
Hmm.
But what if we had specific feedback, especially the organizations that are using that are trying to use all this new feature set? Is there a way they can get it to you?
Either by talking to a partner or an MVP, they can usually get that to us somehow. I don't know that there's a formal process for getting feedback to us, but I can definitely look into that and find out if there's something specific.
Okay.
But yeah, we listen to MVPs, and any feedback we get, we're definitely open to talking about, making updates.
Okay. So okay, Byron clarified the question. So he's asking if the PM changes the percentage or dates after the commitment is done,
Hmm.
does the RM get an opportunity to approve it?
Yeah, let me go back and show you that. Okay, I'll go back to resource plan. Yeah, so let's take a look at one of these committed ones, say for Christopher Fogg. If I wanted to change something maybe in the time phase section here, let's change this to 50%.
Oh, so I think people are we have. I need to bring you back into broadcast, so they're
Oh,
not seeing your screen. So give me 1 second.
can you see the screen? Okay, so let's say I changed 50% here. I see this little indicator telling me that it's been edited and needs to be submitted for review. So what I would do here is, even though it was previously committed, I would resubmit this. So I'm going to say submit selected. Uh-oh.
Yes, we can see your screen now.
Okay.
Now that you had an error.
Okay,
So
now I see that it's back to propose. So what you would do after you made an adjustment is you would resubmit it. And then you would see that it's proposed again. And if you'll notice, I used to have committed max units here, and that's been wiped out because I reproposed it. So now there's nothing committed for this currently. So I can go back. So I've reproposed this. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to refresh this page. And now I see this is proposed again. So as the RM, I can take a look at what was changed. I'll scroll over here to see that 50%. And I see the 24 hours and 20 hours here. And so if this is okay, then I can re-accept, or I could reject, or I could make edits depending on what was appropriate. So I'll just click accept. Okay. And if I go back here and refresh again, now it's been recommitted. So there's an opportunity to go back and forth with these things if there's something that didn't work out correctly, or say you didn't like the resource that was given to you and you really wanted somebody else that is free. You could also try to do that at this point.
That could also be a problem, right? They could keep going back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Maciej, I hope I'm saying the name right. Does the PM, but the PM have to do it manually? That's what this question is. There is no, just because he changes something doesn't mean it sends a notification to the RM.
Yeah, it does need to be manually resubmitted. So once you've made that change, you will see the indicator telling you that something has changed and it has not been submitted. So when you see that green indicator, you'll know that you need to resubmit that.
Okay. So what would be our checks and balance in that scenario if a PM has changed these numbers but they are not sent the notification to the resource manager, and the resource is being asked to work extra hours? So is there some kind of a red flag that shows up somewhere? Probably. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say that they changed something for Cody and they don't have approval, because right now, like they currently have Cody for 50%, and let's say they requested 100%, but it hadn't actually been approved by the RM. If they tried to assign work to Cody that went over that 50%, then they would see the indicator that said, you need, this engagement doesn't fully cover this.
Okay. So, but it still depends on the PM to be able to say, okay, this is the right thing to do. Talk to the resource manager.
Yeah, they will get the indicator, but there's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Okay. And I'm assuming we can also see once they publish the project, I might be able to see it in the reporting.
In OData?
In OData or the heat map.
Yes. What you will see are the proposed ones. So in the heat map, let me show you one other thing about that. In the heat map, you can include proposed bookings. So right now I'm only looking at the ones that are committed, the committed engagements. But if I were to check this, I would actually see additional information about things that have been proposed as well.
Okay. Okay. So actually, there are the audience is asking the question the other way. What if the RM changes things? Does the PM get notified? The RM says, okay, this resource is not available for the next 3 months full time.
They would simply have to refresh the viewer, and next time they open the project, they would see those changes. So let me do it from this way as well. Let me go to resource requests, and let's say I reject this one for Cody. Let's just completely reject it. I can always add a comment if I want.
Okay.
Cody is no longer available. Okay, it's been rejected. Go back here. If I had closed the project and reopened it, I would already see it. But since I have it open, I'm going to refresh. Here's the one for Cody. Now I see that it's rejected. And so if I tried to assign work to him, I would get the indicator again because there's no committed engagement for this.
Okay. Okay. So that when the RM makes changes, PM would see it, but when the PM makes changes, he has to manually send it for approval.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we have a lot of questions coming in actually.
Okay.
Which is good. So if you have, Bridget is asking, if you have resources in your project template and create a new project, what would the process be to do future planning? Do you just let the warning stay?
So you had a template and you created a new project with that template and the resources were there.
Hmm.
So if you started assigning work and those people required engagements, you would see the indicator telling you to create engagements for those. And unfortunately, we don't bring engagements over with templates. So even if you had engagements in the previous project or in the template, those are
Yeah.
not brought over. So you do need to start over with your new project by creating new engagements for those resources.
I think that makes sense. And also, generally, it's not even a best practice to add name resources into
Yeah,
templates. So
if they're generics, then you should be okay.
exactly. And remind me, Julie. I'm sorry if you already covered this. So engagements feature applies to generic resources also, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning, I did a request for a generic accountant and a generic construction crew member, and then I swapped those out as the RM.
Okay. Very good. Um, and maybe I think Bridget's question was more about the generic resources, but since engagements won't come in templates anyway, so you have to recreate that anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. We have another question from Muhammad. He's asking, please also explain how to calculate engagement time of machinery resources. Um,
Uh,
either, yeah, go ahead.
we actually don't allow for engagements from machinery, so it's for work resources only.
Okay.
Engagements are
Okay, good clarification there, I think. So material resources and budget resource, cost resources won't get engagements.
correct.
That I don't know about cost resources, but I think material resources would really help if we had the engagement. So when I reserve a piece of equipment,
Hmm.
I could ask that. So I can see a use case scenario for that. So um, okay, so I think those are the questions so far. I don't see any more coming in. But uh, did you, before we conclude, did you have anything to say?
I don't think so. I think that's it, unless there's more questions.
Yeah, so far that's pretty much it. And if they have more questions, they could post. So Microsoft project is on Twitter, so they could directly post Microsoft. Oh,
Hmm.
you have a slide there which has resources. So
Yeah, I really, really recommend taking a look at the FAQ article and some of this documentation. I think it'll be helpful.
sure. And if you are interested, you could install Project Server 2016 preview and at least um, and at least take a look. Okay, we have one more question. Do you have time to take it?
Yes,
Okay, so match on skills. Uh,
that's correct.
yeah.
We currently do not have support for that. It's something on our backlog, but we don't have support for matching skills.
Okay. So I think a lot of people are used to using match resources features. So it would be a great addition to using resource engagements.
Yeah, we've definitely heard requests for that.
Sure. Very nice. And I think in addition to these resources that you just provided, Brian Smith also wrote up a blog post yesterday,
Yep,
very fresh. So his experiences with resource engagement so far. So people might want to take a look at that too.
yep, that was a good blog post yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read it though, but so but I saw it came out. Um, anyway, so with that, I think there are no more questions. So thank you very much, Julie, for your time. And I think that this is a very valuable feature and valuable session. So if people have more questions, they could type in here or follow Microsoft Project on Twitter and ask those questions, or contact a partner so who can take your questions to the right people in Microsoft. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everyone.